Welcome everybody. Today, as a part of Sharp Your Life Skill series, we are talking about communication skills. My name is S.K. Anil Kumar. What are communication skills? Why do we have to communicate? From the moment man started talking, from the moment man recognized that he has to differentiate himself from animals, this skill is or has become important, and its importance is growing day by day, more so in today's world. Ideas don't sell themselves, so we need to communicate. We need to convince people to buy our ideas. We need to communicate to ensure that the team is on our side. What good is an excellent idea if you cannot convince others, if you cannot make people understand its merits, if you cannot bring the people to your side by making them understand why your idea is the best among the available choices. Your chances of success depends mostly on your power of persuasion. In another form, this is a negotiation skill. In another form, this is an interpersonal skill. In another form, this is a leadership skill. In another form, this is what managers do day in and day out by making the team and communicating with the team to ensure the organizational goals are met. You are only as valuable as your ideas, and your ideas are only as successful as well as you communicate. So mastering the ancient art of persuasion is the key to standing out in this today's crowded competitive world. Mastering the ancient art of persuasion is the only way to stand out in this today's competitive world. Only then you will be able to get ahead. Only then you will achieve greatness. Communication skill will make you unstoppable. Good communicators are irresistible. Good communicators are irreplaceable. Look at the speeches Mahatma Gandhi made during the India's freedom struggle. Look at what Martin Luther King said. Look at the great orators of the history. Communication skill makes you stand apart. We can learn to apply the Aristotle's formula of persuasion when we try to apply communication skills in our day-to-day life, be it at work, be it at home, be it at society, be it in your community. So basically, the first thing or the most important thing among the communication skill tidbits is you have to communicate effectively. How to be efficient and how to be effective are two different things. Communicate effectively by focusing on a single, concrete and time-specific goal. So when you communicate, you should be able to bring the focus of your audience on a single goal, a concrete goal, a time-specific goal, an achievable, realistic goal. How do we do that? We need to be focused on one goal because it is simple and straightforward. If you have multiple goals, your resources will get dissipated. For example, Kennedy was helping NASA by saying put man on the moon is a simple goal than making NASA the best space exploration agency in the world. So he kept on saying put man on the moon before the end of the decade when NASA had 1,000 other items in their agenda. So the single, simple, concrete goal, a time-specific goal within this decade, focus on putting man on the moon, not on Venus, not going to sun. So this made it possible, the moon mission. Multiple goals will split the attention, so it is necessary to focus. Single-mindedness brings powerful results. That is why we need to have a concrete and time-specific ambition. Warren Buffett says, if your goals are properly communicated, half the battle is won. You have to tell stories. Why? Because 75% of what you do is to talk, and 75% of what you talk is what decides whether your sale is successful, whether you are selling goods or services or ideas or performance. So how you communicate is important. That is why stories are important. Stories move people. Stories touch emotions and feelings. Stories stimulate action. Even you can wow your recruiters and win your dream job by telling stories about yourself. Every story has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is what Aristotle has taught us thousands of years ago. Every story will have an ethos, logos, and pathos portion so that the story becomes a well-told one. Telling a compelling story about the situation, about what you and your team did, what obstacles did you overcome, how you got to where you were to where you are. Tell stories about how you faced difficulties. Tell stories about how you brought in the laurels. Be convincing, just don't boast. Tell about how, in spite of the hardships, you were not broken. Tell about how you came to be a success from a failure. Subtly bring about your talents. Subtly bring out what skills you displayed. Subtly bring out how you stand apart from others. Make your audience know that you are no normal human. You are someone special. Tell what motivated you. Tell you why you acted in a specific way. Tell how you turned the stumbling stones into stepping stones. Tell why or how you will act differently from your learning experience. Tell where you went wrong. Tell why you did not have a different choice at that point, but now how you are more learned from your experience. Coming back to ethos and pathos, convincing an audience via authority or credibility is the ethos, being on ethically higher moral ground. Convincing an audience of an argument by creating an emotional response or an impassioned plea is logos, is pathos. And then you have persuading the audience with reason using facts and figures, that is the logic that applies to the mind. Sometimes you have to tell stories that talks to the person's brain. Sometimes you need to touch their heart. Many times, many decisions are made from the heart, not from the brain. Your communication has to be engaging. Your presentation has to be entertaining and engaging. Keep inspiring. Keep people motivated to support your cause. Make the presentations engaging by keeping them brief and include pictures. Sometimes audio visuals speak better than what you do. Sometimes a picture is worth more than 1,000 words. We also need to avoid a cognitive backlog. What is a cognitive backlog? Cognitive backlog is a situation where people remember very little when too much information is given. When people receive a deluge of information, or lots of information at once, a part of the memory or the brain that deals with the new information, the recording, the remembering, the analysis part, the judgmental part as to what goes in gets blocked, and the new information, that area becomes full and no further process happens. You are in a black hole. That is why people say when they hear something new and nascent that it goes beyond their head. Out of sight is out of mind. So keep the people hooked. Keep their eyes and ears open on you. Be sensitive to the attention span. Within the first few minutes, people make an impression, and thereafter whatever you say is based on that halo that you create. Stop before the discussion becomes boring. 10, 15, 20 minutes is a good. Half an hour is too much. Beyond that, nothing goes in. Keep it short, keep it snappy, keep it simple. Remember, only 10% of the verbal communication or verbal information is retained by a person after a day. But if you add a picture to it, it improves to 60%. And if you have some anecdote or some touching emotional basis to the story, it may go up to 90%. One example people talk about is when Bill Gates was talking about the malaria related funding options, he made a mosquito fly in the discussion hall. That everybody remembered. And every time somebody talks about malaria, somebody talks about mosquito, people remember that experience. And so the presentation, the communication that happened during that session becomes more rememberable. How you communicate matters more. How you communicate matters a lot more. The quality of the communication separates the good teams from the great ones. So being good is good, but being great is better. And how you become great? You become great by communicating better. How you communicate matters. Demonstrate psychological safety. Exhibit a high level of clarity and be aware of the impact. So you need to build an emotional aspect into any team building exercise. So when you build an emotional aspect, the quality of communication within the team improves. When the quality of communication within the team improves, the quality of intra-team and inter-team communication improves. Demonstrate psychological safety. In a team, when everyone feels secure in their freedom to take risk, if everyone is confident in speaking out what they feel, if everyone is comfortable enough to express their vulnerabilities, then the team has a good communication skill among themselves. When people have clearly defined roles, when people have clearly defined responsibilities, the roles and responsibilities are properly earmarked, when the goals are clear, when the action plans are clear, then there is a high level of clarity. When the teams have psychological safety, that is, they believe in each other, they trust in each other, they are open to each other. When the teams exhibit a high level of clarity, that is, when they know what their roles, responsibilities, and goals are, and when they are aware of their impact, when they know how their action, their job, their responsibility impacts the overall goals and objectives of the organization, when they know how their job makes a difference, when they know how the small nuts and bolts they make goes into the overall spacecraft that NASA is sending out, then that team has a better way of communicating with each other. They become a great team. So when you are certain that your job makes a difference, your work matters, that you understand how your small piece of contribution contributes to the overall team, when you have a clarity, a clear understanding of the roles and responsibilities, when you have a psychological safety of being able to open with each other in your communications, then you form a great team. Your stories, your communication, your presentation should have an emotional appeal. You have to inspire others, and to inspire, you need to include some pathos. We have seen logos, pathos, and ethos all are part of the story, and pathos makes a better appeal. For example, the sports manufacturer Nike, when they talk about their shoes, the senior executives repeatedly talk about what are all the promoters went through before Nike became what it is today. They talked about how people used to carry the shoes out of the back of their car. They talked about how they were having problems with the waffle iron. They talked about how a great sports personality died on the track. The executives communicate regularly the heartwarming stories, the emotional stories, so as to kindle the feelings that they bring in. Why? To make the employees understand their brand, to make their employees stick to the brand loyalty, to make them work closer towards the organizational goals. This is one form of emotional appeal. You have to take people down the memory lane during the induction and inspiration. You have to make them go through the emotions that the company has gone through or the team has gone through to ensure that all of us are on same page at the given point in time. Every story should tell a story about there is no pain, no gain. Every story should say the present fruits are results of an hard struggle in earlier days. The appeal that we make in our presentation should remember that people have an hardwired desire to hear stories about struggle. The rags to riches story sticks a lot. The struggle is an indispensable aspect of human experience. Everybody goes through some struggle or the other. And so, when the team hears an emotional story about somebody's struggle and how they overcame and how it is possible to work together and achieve and remember that everything is possible, then the communication is effective. Then the team will become a great team. So our brains have a propensity to make meaning out of hardship, to meaning out of struggle, to meaning out of pain. And so we remember stories more accurately when they contain some pain. Look at Indian epics, the Ramayana and Mahabharata. 14 years Rama had to spend in the forest when he was banished from the kingdom. In Mahabharata, there is a struggle that what is rightfully yours, you were not getting. Look at Ulysses, how much trouble he had to undergo to get back to his kingdom. Look at the story of the loss of Troy. All the stories will have a portion of struggle in it. It is the pathos that makes the story remembered by the audience for years to come. Make it simple and short. The best communicators never use long words when a short one will do. Best communicators keep in mind the readability index when they write something. Look at two great personalities, Winston Churchill and Ernest Hemingway. Winston Churchill said, "The shorter words of the language are usually the most ancient, so they are most known to the readers. They are most understood and they are most simple." Shorter words are simpler words. He used as many short words as possible in the sentences. Keep your words small, keep your sentences small. Readability index is an algorithm used by publishers to ensure that if you are making a textbook for class 5, grade 5, then whether a grade 5 student will be able to understand that or not, or is the language or content of the textbook at grade 6 level when the book is meant for grade 5 level. This you find out from a readability index. This is one tool that will help you understand whether what you have written is really meeting the purpose of making the audience understand it. Ernest Hemingway is Nobel laureate. He is a literary genius. He wrote for adult audience, but most of his writings are of a 5th grader standard. He did not write for a 10th grader or a graduate. He wrote in a language that a 5th grader will easily understand. Keeping things simple helped him get more audience than anybody else. Why this is required, why it is necessary to be simple and short, is because a typical person understands a content if it is written in 5th to 10th grade level. An adult, not every adult can understand if it is beyond a 10th grade level. So the content's clarity is what is important. The quality of the content depends not on how complex words are, how complex sentences are, and how complex a grammar is. The longer or the bigger is not necessarily better. Keep it simple, keep it short. Use the simple words and simple sentences. Thanks for listening to this video. We were talking about communication skills. We saw that communication starts with telling stories about yourselves, your ideas, your team, your ambition, what you are trying to achieve, and why you want the audience to come to your side. The stories have to be made compelling by adding an element of hardship, the struggle. People remember the pain. People connect to the emotional element of hardship. Keep things brief. The presentations should be 15, 20, 30 minutes and not more. Include pictures because a picture speaks more than 1,000 words. Keep it simple. Use simple grammar, simple English, simple words. For more information on communication skills, one of the recent bestseller is a 5 stars by Carmen Gallo, where the author says, if you master communication skills, you will get all the 5 stars in your appraisal rating in your company. So what is it we are trying to understand by communication skills? What is required is transform your thoughts and feelings. Put them into simple language, brief, have a pictures, make it compelling by adding emotional stories, and stories is what make the ideas sell. You have to have a cognitive reframing, that is, decide how you think. If you have a problem, don't think about the problem, think about the solutions, think about the possibilities, think about the possible alternatives. Focus on everything that could go right. Be positive. We can change how we think about something, and by this change, we can change how we feel about it. When we have a better feelings, we have a better emotion. When we have better emotion, we have a better communication. When we have better communication, we have a better team. Use the right words to capture the imagination. Use the right words to ignite the dreams of your audience. Bring the audience to your side. Thanks for watching this video. Please keep coming back. We will keep talking about shoring up your life skills.